Hello, and welcome to my podcast. Whether you're walking to work, having a cup of coffee, or just seeking positive vibes, join me as I share timeless wisdom and practical tools to make your life better. I found that with depression, one of the most important things you could realize is that you're not alone. A quote by Dwayne Johnson. Well, hello my friends. What's happening? How are you doing? How are you really doing? I do hope that you have an answer for that. And I want to appreciate you for being here with me yet for another episode. And today I want us to talk about depression. Currently in our society, a lot of people are going through depression. And so I want us to see how to deal with depression. Because once in a while, I have had a fair share of depression. And it's okay since it's a human experience that we all signed up for. I know oftentimes depression is one of those things that people have shame about talking about it. And so I want to talk about it because I think that shame brought by being depressed is bad. Because it makes it mean that we think there's something wrong with us as human beings for being depressed, which in my opinion isn't true, because all that is wrong is what is going on in your brain. And what I have learned is that your brain is not you. So why do I say that your brain is not you? Because what happens in your brain is an effective evolution. It's effective programming. It's an effect of genetics. It's an effect of how we were raised, and your society and your culture, your background. So when I have people come to me and tell me that they are broken and feel unworthy or nothing is working out for them, I don't believe them. I just know that they're experiencing the phase of depression in their brain. I did research what is depression, and I really think that depression is when you lose control or the plot of your life. It is when you feel numbness, emptiness, not necessarily sadness or despair. It is that feeling of nothingness, helplessness, and hopelessness. So what are the symptoms of depression, or how may they look like? Because I know a lot of us are going through depression, or you're living with someone who's going through depression, or you have a friend. So it may look like nothing seems interesting to this person, or you are unmotivated. And I do know these symptoms because for the last 2 weeks I was there because of something that just happened. I lost the plot in my life, or I lost control. I just felt hopeless in a certain situation. And I do remember that I was overwhelmed, low energy, and you have lots of desire to sleep, but the inability to sleep well. You just lack the glow. You have shame over your situation and feeling like you shouldn't feel that way. There's also symptoms like anxiety, stroke, fear, because this is what is mostly causing you to be numb. And most importantly, I know in my situation I had the victim mentality. You blame other people for your situation. What then causes depression? What I've learned is that a lot of people will argue that depression is caused by your situation or your experience, by things that are happening in the world. And what I want to offer is that it's not absolutely, it's not true. Like, it's absolutely not true. You can have people that go through the most horrific circumstances. They can go through the most horrible situations, the deepest level of loss, and not get depressed. Like, you can have people go through the loss of your jobs, and they've lost the same job the same time, and one person may get depressed and the other one may not get depressed. Or you can have people who've lost their loved ones, maybe your siblings, and you can see one has gotten depressed and the other one has not got depressed. And it is very important to understand that when we think depression is caused by something external, that is the circumstances or your situation, and that the world is just a bad place, or the world just doesn't care about us, or that we're just cursed, then we're not going to make any kind of effort to change it. So I think the most important thing to remember when it comes to depression is that we do have options. Options like choosing to see yourself as strong, choosing to take time to understand what is going on in your brain, and then choosing to stand strong and to begin the healing. So what then is depression, and also what can make it worse? Because I believe if we only learn the positive, then when the negative comes, we'll not be able to handle the situation. So in this case, I'm not talking about healing depression or curing it. I'm not a doctor, but what I'm saying is we can make it worse or we can make it better. Here are some of the things that can make depression worse. One, having a victim mindset. By the way, sorry if there's any noise in the background. So sorry. But having a victim mindset is seeing yourself as the victim and everyone else as a villain or the perpetrator. And this can happen with people that are in your life right now. Like, you can blame your spouse, you can blame your siblings, you can blame your parents. This can happen when you think about situations from your past. Be very careful to notice in the stories that you tell, are you the victim in the story? Okay? And the second thing that can make it worse is self-loathing. That is hating on yourself. Saying very many mean things to yourself and about yourself. Hating on yourself because you're depressed. Hating on yourself because you're not taking action that you want to take. Because you're not feeling the way you want to feel. And this creates further depression. I have been there recently, and I know this is true. Like, you just want to continue feeling hopeless, because at this time you don't love yourself. The other thing that can make depression worse is regret. You generally hate on your life and how things have turned out. Yes, this I know. I know how this feels. And you look at your past and wish you hadn't done it. It's kind of looking at your past and telling yourself a sad or a terrible story about what should have been different in your past. And this makes it worse. Another thing is blaming yourself or blaming others. You blame yourself for being depressed. You blame yourself for anything that has happened in your life or anything that you've done. Like you are in the victim. You are in that victim state, and there's no chance of winning here. And it just promotes the victim mindset that leads to depression, my friends. Instead of remembering that all this is happening in your mind and your brain, and it's not true that you're a victim. And you can choose to be the hero in your story. No matter how hard it is, at the end of your downfall or your situation, I call it a situation, or at the end of your negative thoughts, the flip side is if you're able to manage your thoughts, then you can be able to overcome depression. So another thing that makes it worse is complaining. You're constantly looking for negative things, and you know that is the way our brain is wired, because as I always tell you, our brain is wired to protect us. So when you're looking for negative things in your life and all you're doing is grumbling, and you know that what you feed your brain becomes your reality. And the last thing that makes depression worse is resisting and avoiding emotions by you choosing to overeat or overdrinking or using drugs, overworking yourself, Netflix and chill to escape your emotions. That is, use some avenue to just try and avoid the experience of processing your emotions. So what then can make depression better? There's something called thought work. So we can do some thought work, and this involves remembering that you're not your depression, you're whole, you're worthy, and that the brain is creating the depression. It's just looking at your negative thoughts and from the higher part of ourselves, we decide to consciously or intentional choose what to think. We flip or change the negative thoughts to positive, believable thoughts. Like I remember in my situation, one thought that has helped me is to remember that I do not owe anyone an explanation of how I decide to live my life. And again, I choose the thought that My situation is my hope. And these thoughts just started giving me energy and started giving me the confidence that I needed. But I do know that doing some thought work is very important. Changing your negative thoughts, changing your negative beliefs about your situation that makes you depressed. Okay? So the second thing is focus on your future. And this really did help me because remember I told you that one of the thoughts that I created or I choose to intentionally think is my situation is my hope. So I looked at it in the future. Okay? And I know at times most of you may not be at a place where you can imagine your future because you just feel helpless and have to work through some tools to get here. But if you're at a place where you can start imagining a future that's better than where you are right now, that is one of the most important activity you can do when you're depressed. Just imagine a better future and to think about that future. The third thing that can ease your depression is to make a list of appreciation that brings in positivity. Just take a book, fill up a page, like force your brain to look for positivity. Because when you're depressed, your brain is on the lookout for danger and ugliness. That's what it's doing. It's in a spiral. Remember, you have things that are still good around you, even when all feels hopeless. Like you have fresh water to drink, you have your babies around you, you have homes and beds with blankets, you have food on the table, you have electricity, you have good health. And even though you may not feel cheerful about those things, telling your brain what to think about is a very powerful exercise. Okay? Another thing that may ease your depression is exercise, because it really affects our hormones and the way that we process the blood flow in our brains. So force yourself, if you have to even just do 5 minutes of exercise, because this can be a true game changer. Another thing is get a shower and dress up. And I know when you're depressed, it's very easy to stay in your pajamas all day. It's very easy to stay in your sweats all day because you just don't have the energy or the desire to do anything else. So if your bed's a mess and your hair is also a mess and you're not clean and you haven't dressed yourself well, that will make it worse. But the more you decide to shower, to brush your teeth, to put on your dress, to brush your hair, it makes you feel more in charge of your life. And it makes you feel a bit normal. And this keeps you going. Another thing is listen to positive podcasts. You need to fill your brain with positivity because this is what will save you from spiraling down into the depths of despair. Just read books. Read self-help books, read positive books, read good novels, read comedy, read things that get your brain thinking thoughts other than complaining and self-loathing and negativity. really think that we can feel sorry for ourselves because we are depressed and stay around in our pajamas and just let our life get messy? Or we can understand, yes, we are depressed, but I'm going to get up, brush my hair, I'm going to get dressed, I'm going to do some list of appreciation, I'm going to listen to some positive podcasts, I'm going to think about my future, and I'm going to do some thought work. I'm going to even talk to a friend or family, people who just support you. I think that's another thing that can ease depression. Or even a professional. And at the very least, I'll feel a little bit better. Remember, you feel a little bit better than if you would have sat around hating yourself all day. It seems like a little thing, but it's the biggest thing. I know that because for my situation, I talked and I stopped sitting around hating myself. And it's the biggest things that gets your brain off the negativity cycle and onto the loop of positivity and empowerment. Okay? So it's these little things that, in my opinion, are the biggest things that will help you get out of this negative cycle. So I do hope that this helps. And I know a lot of you are struggling with depression. And I know a lot of you are trying to heal and get back to you, and it's possible. Just always remember, you are worthy, you're amazing, you're perfect, you're wonderful, and it's just your brain that's depressed. I hope more than anything you've learned that it's just your brain that is depressed. It's not you who is depressed. Because remember, as we've said, our brains are molded according to our backgrounds and our cultures. And this is the reason why our brains tend to be depressed. And that's okay. You can find your way out of it. I promise you that. So till next week's episode, I'm sending you my love and light. God bless and stay safe, my people. Cheers.